A little bit more from you. Good afternoon again. There you go. New Jersey's in the United States Capitol, right? There you go. It is an honor to be here today to speak on behalf of the homeless, the hungry, the disabled, and the poor of the New Jersey 2nd Congressional District. There is no greater responsibility than we have to show up, to stand up, and to speak up for those who have been forgotten or disregarded by the policymakers and the power brokers of our political system. The sacred text of every religion affirms our responsibility to the poor and oppressed, and every fiber of our humanity speaks to the unwritten commandment that we are to leave this world better than we received it ourselves. In my faith tradition, the prophet Isaiah lays out God's commands concerning the vulnerable in society. He says, "Is not this the kind of fasting I have chosen? To loose the chains of injustice, to untie the cords of the yoke, to set the oppressed free and break every yoke? Is it not to share your food with the hungry and to provide the poor wanderer with shelter? When you see the naked, to clothe them, and to not turn away from your own flesh and blood. If you do away with the yoke of oppression and with the pointing finger and malicious talk," we need an amen to that. Amen. "And if you spend yourselves in behalf of the hungry and satisfy the needs of the oppressed, then your light will rise in the darkness and your night will become like the noonday." As one who grew up in the third poorest city in New Jersey, within the poorest county in the state, and who now serves as a pastor in that same community, I've personally witnessed the daily struggles of our poorest brothers and sisters. And as a recovering government bureaucrat myself, I'm on medication, but I'm getting there. I am consistently amazed at the brokenness and ineffectiveness of our nation's social safety net programs, which many times create additional burdens to those who are already in crisis. And as a professor at a college teaching business, everybody wants to talk about business skills. Well, I kind of do that as a living. And a social scientist, I'm keenly aware that many times the best fiscal policies that our nation can implement are also the most righteous ones. Responsible, thoughtful, compassionate public policy protects the most vulnerable and makes investments in our nation's most valuable resource, we the people. I've heard that we need to make America great again. You might have heard that. I agree, actually, that it doesn't seem so great these days. It certainly isn't great for the nearly 19 million low-income U.S. households who pay over half of their income in housing. It's not great for the 500,000 men and women and children who are homeless. A quarter of that number are children. It's certainly not great for the 32 million Americans who stand to lose their health insurance with the repeal of the Affordable Care Act. So how do we become great again? Well, it's important to recognize that our greatness was never found in our military or our political institutions, but in our collective aspirations toward a more perfect union, where every person, regardless of race, class, gender, or sexuality, disability, can attain their God-given potential. We need an American government as great as its people, the people that it represents, and that honors the legacy of those who have shed their blood and sacrificed for our freedom. When I used to come to Washington, I marveled at the great big grand buildings, rooms such as this, and it inspired almost a sense of greatness there. However, I have worked alongside of countless volunteers who have given up their comforts to make life a little bit better for someone else, and it's there that I have truly discovered what's great about America. Greatness is found in the single mom who, after working all day and putting her kids to bed, makes lunch to give away to the homeless person at the street corner. That's what's great about America. The greatness of America is, as it always has been, found in the goodness of its people. I've seen that greatness shine through the most unexpected people in the most unexpected ways, and I see that greatness shining here today in this room. You know, the French political scientist Alexis de Tocqueville stated about his observation of the American experience that America is great because she's good. And if America ceases to be good, she will cease to be great. Goodness requires that we recognize that we are all truly in this together and that we are our brother and sister's keeper. That's an amen. Amen. Some in our government, well, I think they've kind of forgotten and lost sight of what it really means to be great. And so I have some questions for you. Is it great to take away health care from millions of Americans? No! Is it great when individuals and families don't have access to good jobs and affordable housing? No! Is it great to slash safety net programs while giving tax breaks to the wealthy? No! And is it great that we are #1 in the world in the number of incarcerated citizens per capita? No! So, absolutely disgraceful. Indeed, the decisions of many policymakers are not good, nor are they great. We need a government that's kind, good, and smart. That's what we need to bring back. Government should be a place where we all can come together to help each other in our lives, because we know that it's not only the right thing to do, but we're all actually in it together. Our nation was founded upon a simple and yet profound concept that all people are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among them are the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This declaration has profound implications. For these rights to be fully realized, it requires that every person have gainful employment, affordable housing, education, food, and health care. Our failure as a society to not provide these essentials for living is a choice. And I always remind my congregation and my students, choices always have consequences. In the vile, shallow, and ridiculous public discourse of our day, we have forgotten the values and the hope that truly makes America great. Under the guise of fiscal responsibility, the President and congressional leadership are attempting to balance the budget on the backs of the poor, giving tax breaks to the wealthy while ignoring the injustices that are morally and fiscally bankrupting this nation. We are all witnessing the political gamesmanship that's happening right now on the Affordable Care Act, otherwise known as Obamacare. Now, we got to hear from Congressman Lobiando. I'm grateful for his opposition to the current repeal and replace measures, because they would devastate the vulnerable who rely on these Medicaid expansions. But true leadership requires not only to stand against something, but to put something forward. And we need to repair and expand Obamacare so that everyone has good health care. It should not matter if it's Trump care or Obamacare. I don't care. I just want health care. Healthcare is an important issue morally, ethically, but also fiscally. And if you're going to have healthcare, we need to declare that healthcare is a human right, and so is housing. Housing is a human right. Because for people to be healthy, they need a place to call home. The effects of this homelessness are harming so many people and harming our budgets. But the good and the sad news is that they're going after more with the House budget bill that was released from committee. It only provides flat funding for homeless assistance, while also putting an additional 140,000 households at the risk of homelessness. Now, let me tell you something. It's real quick. I see Richard's behind me. I'm going to wrap it up before he takes me out. But I'm going to tell you something real quick. It's real easy to do some math here, how we can solve this problem, because I don't believe in just talking about the problem, but we got to talk about the solution. So here's one idea. You know, I told you we lead the world in the number of incarcerated citizens per capita, right? We have over 2 million people locked up. You know, according to the Brennan Center up in New York, they said that 39% of those people could be released because they're nonviolent offenders or they've already served their time. You know how much that would save? $20 billion. You know what we could use with that $20 billion? You know how much it takes to end homelessness? Roughly about $20 billion. So I just solved homelessness and our incarceration issue all in one shot. Some say it can't be done, but my 6th grade teacher reminded me can't means you won't, and won't means you're lazy. We can change a system that's rigged against the poor and the working class. We can feed the poor and shelter our neighbors and care for our sick. How many times in our great history have we overcome the seemingly insurmountable odds against us? We have done it before and we can do it again. Let us all together become, in the words of the prophet Isaiah, the repairer of broken walls and the restorer of streets with dwellings. Let's not just restore the housing voucher program, but let's make it so that everyone has a place to call home. Everyone has health care, everyone has education, and everyone has food on their table. Thank you.
Thank you.